Happy Finish Friday, everybody. My name's Amy Howard, and today is a day that we set aside to be able to show you how to be able to use the products here at Amy Howard at Home. And as a rule, we use this time to be able to think about what are questions that we have gotten from our customers, people from our before and after group on Facebook, etc., all through the week, to be able to really educate you, because we want you successful. When you're successful with your projects, we feel like we've been successful. So we wanted to be able to take a piece that was purchased at a garage sale and show you how you can use the one-step paint, what supplies you have to have, and keep it pretty basic today, but go over some painting techniques. And of course, I've invited my friend and my husband and my partner in crime, Jean, to be able to help me with that as well. But so let's go over the products that you're going to need when you want to rescue a piece of furniture. Whether it's a nightstand, whether it's a chest of drawers like this, square footage, how much paint are you going to have to use, that type thing. So you'll notice the products that I have laid out here, the first thing you're going to need is you're going to be able to, you want it to clean this piece. You do not know what has been used on this piece of furniture over the years, whether it's been liquid gold or waxes. Paint thinners, different degreasers are not going to remove the wax. So we're going to have to remove the wax with our product. It's called Clean Slate. It's a proprietary cleaner that we have developed. Took us several years to actually develop it, and this is what we're going to be cleaning our piece with in just a minute. The other thing you'll notice that we've got here, we have two colors that we're going to be working with. So my base of the chest is going to be in this lighter color, and the top is going to be in my darker color. I like doing it in monochromatic values, meaning different values of one color, mono, but you can do an ombre effect with this if you want. You could even paint the top in this base color. I just thought it would be fun to have the top just a little bit darker. I'm going to be using my synthetic wedge brush. It's a microfiber brush. It's going to lay it down really smoothly. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to use my light and dark wax, because the person that I'm painting this for wanted to be able to have just a little bit of antiquing. We're going to go over that with you. And then I've got my hawk hair brush as well as my chip brush to use in my antiquing process. The other thing I'm going to need is just some lint-free rags. And I've got these that I'm going to be able to clean with. So you will later have some soap and water. All you have to do as far as cleaning the one step up off your brush, you'll need soap and water. And then as far as cleaning your brushes with the waxes, you're just going to need a clean slate. So I'm going to set these aside over here on my work table, and know that as like with any time when we're working on pieces like this or we're educating you, please ask questions. We're coming to you live. Send us some love. Let us know, as far as hearts, let us know where you're coming from, and ask questions. There are no dumb questions. We all learn from the questions. And Jean and I have been rescuing and restoring furniture and redoing furniture for almost 30 years. So this is an opportunity for us to be able to help you be successful in your projects. So Jean, if you want to come on over and either way, and that way kind of walk through this with me. So he's going to behave himself today. He promised that. He promised me. All right. So talk to us about cleaning this top. And come on, if you want to come a little closer, as far as letting them kind of see. I have noticed too on this piece, look where there's some varnish. Look where it's been worn off. There's not any varnish. Is that going to make a difference when somebody sees a piece like that, and they're going to be working on it? Should they worry about that with the one-step paint?
Here are a couple of things, like Amy was saying, where there looks to be what we call the top coat, clear coat, number of different things. What that does, it gives protection to the wood to prevent it from staining, to prevent it from, to just keep things from getting on here and not being able to wipe off. Where it's worn through, what's going to happen is the one-step paint, along with any paint for that matter, is going to have a tendency to be absorbed into the wood because there's not a clear coat or sealant between the stain and what you're painting. So what's going to happen is it'll absorb more paint. Also, the paint, being water-based, may have a tendency to pull the stain through and get bleeding. So a lot of times in those areas, what you want to do is if you're painting with a lighter color like an off-white, you may want to go in and seal that. You can use our matte sealer that will seal that and prevent the stain from pulling through, or some other type of sealer that you may have.
Now, we'll say this, as a rule, when we've painted furniture before, and what Jean's talking to you about, the bleeding of the tannin, the oils that will be pulled up in the wood, I usually will paint my piece first, because that only really happens maybe 25% of the time. So you can go on, right, and so you can go on and be painting it. If you do see just a little bit of those little red spots that comes through, don't let that upset you. You can stop, let it dry, put on some matte sealer, and then come back directly on top of it with the one-step paint, keep painting. So,
And a lot of times the second coat of paint is going to also solve the problem.
so you'll notice what he's doing. We've taken a lint-free rag. We're cleaning the top of this piece with the clean slate because this will take off the waxes. Now, if you've got,
So you can
yeah, look
see.
how dirty that is. The other thing is, it will act, other cleaners that are like degreasers will act as a surfactant. Jean, tell us just a little bit about that.
Right, you know, when you use paint thinners, mineral spirits, that's a petroleum base, and what's going to happen, it's going to leave petroleum chemicals on the surface, and it's going to prevent adhesion. There's other degreasers that can take the wax off, but it leaves surfactants which act as a barrier to prevent the paint from actually adhering. So the Clean Slate is a refinisher's grade furniture cleaner that removes waxes, oils, grease, and it also removes any surfactants so that the paint has better adhesion.
All right, so now we've cleaned our top. The next step we're gonna do is actually we're gonna be applying our paint. But I wanna give this just a minute to dry. So we're gonna take out one of our drawers. Jean, what would you date this piece?
This piece looks to be early 1900s.
You've got dovetailing here. I don't have my glasses. This isn't dovetailed in the back.
No, it's a little mortise tenon in the back.
So that way, see this right here as far as, and we normally don't do this, but do you want to just tell us real quickly about a mortise and tenon?
Mortise tenon, and we're getting into furniture construction. You know, there's something that's called a butt joint, where it's just two pieces butted together and glued. But when you actually go in and route out that little indentation all the way through for another piece of wood to fit in, what happens is you have 1, 2, 3 areas of surface for the glue to adhere to instead of one area if that piece had just been butted against the other one.
So this adds a lot to the structure of it, the longevity of it.
Yes, it's much better.
That's why this is something, when you're rescuing furniture, you want to be able to look and see, does it actually have the dovetailing in that? A lot of that can be to the quality of the cabinet maker too, and it will also give you some indication as to when the piece was actually made. If you can't tell, this piece has been, it's made out of oak. It's a solid oak, which is a pretty standard for this design that we have. So we need to do the same thing. We're gonna clean this drawer as well. I took your clean slate from you.
Now we can either leave this. This is called an escutcheon. Now, escutcheon is just a decorative piece that usually identifies where the keyhole is located. It looks much better than just a drilled out hole in the wood for the key, and this just accentuates that with a decorative embellishment.
Okay, I'll put some clean slate on that for you. Are there any questions? Are we good?
Can you use gesso on previously painted latex paint followed by milk paint?
So this person, who is asking this question?
Laura Annette.
Hey Laura, so today we're going over one step, but as far as your question, can you, if you've got a piece that's been painted in latex paint, her question is, can you put the cracked gesso on top of that and then proceed with doing a milk paint finish? Yes, the answer to that is yes. Make sure that it's nice and clean and that way the cracked gesso will be able to bond to that. As a rule, we say it's best to have it with the one step first.
I would suggest
I'd love it if you went on and put the one step on top of that latex paint. It's gonna bond better, and because it has a matte finish, and then follow with your cracked gesso, and then follow with your milk paint. Share your piece too, and I'll use this as a segue. If you are not part of our Amy Howard Home on Facebook before and after group, please join it. I promise you'll be inspired. There are so many people on there that paint furniture for a business, but they're constantly doing projects, and there are DIYers just like you. They were scared and they got on there and they shared it, and it really inspires everybody. Yes.
Do you usually paint the sides and inside of drawers?
Ooh, that's good. I'll tell you this, the answer is yes. When we made our furniture years ago, a lot of people don't know that we made the Amy Howard Collection furniture pieces, all bench made for many years, sold all across the world, and we would put wallpaper in the insides of our drawers. We would finish the drawers, we'd finish the inside, all like it was a beautiful piece of furniture. We wanted it to be a surprise when somebody would open it up, and we would actually paper the inside. So definitely paint the sides. Use stencils, do designs, transfers. I've got something that I'm going to show you that we might be able to do on this piece later, but definitely finish those out, for sure.
And the caveat to that is a lot of your drawers have many different ways of having drawer glides. That's to keep the drawer
That's a good word.
centered as it's being pulled or pushed in to the cabinet. So if you've got slotted areas on the sides, if you've got metal drawer glides, if on the bottom, if you have a glide, you don't want to paint that, because what will happen is it will prevent the drawer from sliding as it was meant to.
That's good
So
work.
if you've got any drawer glides, anything that allows that drawer to stay in place as it's being pushed and pulled,
Don't paint them.
those.
And to put some of the wax on there is a smart thing to do. That'll glide even better.
On those areas.
Yes.
After using Clean Slate, do you need to wipe the furniture down with a clean wet rag?
Not
No.
a clean wet rag, but
Just a clean dry rag, yes, to make sure that it's nice and dry. All right, so let's start on our top first. That'll give this a chance to dry. I'm gonna set this over here. So, we're gonna do our darker color on the top.
First, we want to shake it well. This one has been pre-shaken and pre-stirred, but just so you'll know why I'm not going to stir it is because we've stirred it, we've shaken it, and it is ready to go. I'll be
Okay.
careful with that. And then I'll take my clean brush and I'll make sure all the debris is off. We don't want to get any debris caught up in there. And what I'll do is, of course, I'm standing behind the piece, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to start the furthest away and work my way towards me or back. The reason being, if I work my way forward, there's a great chance my clothing will get into the wet paint. So that's why I'll
And
start
guys,
with that.
remember this, you want to make sure that you do not get this on your clothes. That's why we have on aprons. It will not come out of your clothes. That you can paint, you can use the one-step paint on furniture, fabrics, anything. Look at the coverage of that too. That's great. Okay, now talk to us. This makes a lot of people nervous as far as when they're painting. And two, look at the speed in which Gene's painting as far as fanning it out. He's working with the grain of the wood. You want to make sure that you're not going in a lot of different directions.
And notice, because this is a larger area, I'm not painting in strips. I'm going to come back and tie into it, and I'm going to kind of be working my way and fanning out as I do this. And I'm putting on a nice coat, but I don't want to put a heavy coat on. It's better to put 2 or 3 thinner coats than one heavy, because a heavy coat will tend to crack as it dries.
The other thing that you want to remember, we call this one-step paint, not one coat. So see, when he got a drip there like that, he just went back over it. It's no big deal. You don't have to stop what you're doing. Because you've got an open time of about 20 to 30 minutes, you want to make sure the area that you are choosing, that you're painting first, you want to work quickly, and you want to be able to make sure you don't have a fan on you. You do want to make sure you're in a controlled space. I would really recommend putting a drop cloth or some newspaper, some plastic down on where you're working on in case you get some drips. That's looking great, Gene.
Thank you. And you'll notice that I don't have complete coverage, and that's okay. We're not going for complete coverage. We're just going for the top to be painted.
And the other thing, if you're just now tuning in, you can go back as far as this piece. We're actually painting it for someone that got it at a garage sale, I think for $25. And so a garage sale find, as they start tomorrow, you want to be out there early because the pieces like this are going to sell fast. So it's going to be fun, and we'll have to get a picture of how she decorates it in her house. But we're doing the top just a little bit darker than the bottom, and that's going to give it some more accentuation because of this beautiful little shape on it. Look at how, see, it doesn't take very long as Gene painting this piece, this top. Will literally take us probably about 5 minutes to be able to paint it. It's going to take about 25 to 30 minutes for it to come to a complete drying time where we're happy enough with it to go on and put on a second coat, just like we've done before. There's no need to sand in between coats. We're not big fans of sandpaper. We believe in cleaning the piece really well. Of course, you'll have to use some Bondo or some wood filler if you've got wood missing. The paint's not going to fill that in, but it makes really painting and rescuing and restoring a piece of furniture so easy and so fun. You're going to see on that part where he started here, again, we're not concerned about 100% coverage on this first coat. It's already starting to dry down. Any other word, Gene, as far as what we want to make sure they know?
No, another reason why you noticed I didn't paint a strip, come back and paint a strip, come back, because when it dries, you'll actually see that differentiation between, so that's why I'd work an area, come back, so that it all blends together, especially with the second coat. And we're done.
That's awesome. That looks great. Now, here's the thing. If you're working on a piece like this, you probably want to purchase a quart for the base, and because of the top, you want to purchase a pint or a sample pot like this. You don't need any more than that for the top coat on this.
Had you given them coverage?
No.
The quartz will give you approximately 100 to 120 square feet, and your sample pots will give you about 25 to 30 square feet, approximately. It could go a little depending on the color and what you're painting. It could be a little more, a little less, but that's average for it.
You know, and because today we're painting a wood piece, but remember with the one-step paint, you can use it on melamine or resin or plastics. A lot of furniture that you're going to get, or maybe from Bombay Company or whatever, wasn't that big in the 80s?
Bombay furniture.
Something like that. And a lot of you have pieces like that. You know, the cool thing about this is you can also use it on pieces that you're going to put outdoors as well. All right, so we're going to come over here. Gene, and let's show them. I've got another brush. And this is our lighter color.
There you go. I'll put the top on that other one. Sorry, as we go out of range. You do want to make sure that when you finish, you want to get the top back on so that you don't have the paint drying around the lid of the container.
All right, so this is our top coat color, just showing you again. And this is what we're going to put on the body of the piece itself.
Now, this is where you can say, do we want to paint the escutcheon? Do we want to paint around the escutcheon? The escutcheon is nailed in, so you'd have to have a pair of, or screwdriver and lightly tap around that and to be able to get that out, or you can paint over it. Or,
You know, I'll tell you, I'll go in a minute and just get you, what I'm thinking about for this piece, and I have to ask permission because this isn't my piece. Again, we're painting it for someone, but I think this needs to go away. And so we can paint over it so it can act as some texture. We want to be able to come back with some, and embellish this piece just a little bit with some transfers. And then some much more simple hardware. The hardware that's on this piece is not really that great. When you don't have hardware that's that great, the other great thing about with the one-step paint, you can paint it directly on top of it. So you get the texture from it, or you could lacquer it. You've got a lot of different options.
all right, the same thing. I'm going to take the clean brush and make sure there's no debris. We've already clean slated. And now we'll put this on. This color is Luxe Gray, one of the colors of the one-step paint. Notice I'm pouncing in that. And then I don't want to put a lot of paint on this or it'll build up as it tries to pull the paint from the brush.
Now, Jean, as a rule, for somebody, would you tell them, should they put tape on the side? What do they run into a situation as far as it running? Now, you're a master painter, but what would you recommend to people watching here today? Should they tape the sides?
You can either, what I like to do is, since I'm not going to necessarily paint the drawer sides, I am going to paint just that small lip of the drawer front. That way, when you're going to have a little bit of a gap around the drawer when it's in the cabinet, so that way it won't show up as being a dark
And here's
line.
the other thing, we've done this as well. You can take maybe the darker color that you have on your top, paint the drawer sides that way. A lot of times I'll take an accent color and actually paint the insides of the drawers with an accent color. Have fun with that. Let that be a sweet surprise to someone as far as on the drawers. So let me move this light around really quickly, and then that way let's look at our top again. So it's starting to dry down. It allows people to just kind of see. I'm going to place this drawer in here. I know it's wet, but I want them to be able to see what it is that we're talking about, what we're doing. So we're going to have our base a lighter gray color. We're going to have our top just a little bit darker. We'll actually need to come back and see this lip right here. We're going to have to come back and make sure this entire top that's this darker color, that lip is painted. That way it'll go into the drawers. We'll paint the sides. So Jean, let's take them through before I kind of tell them how we're going to finish this out. After they take each drawer out and paint them, then they'll paint the body of the cabinet. Do you think it's okay for someone that's not really experienced in painting to work on this vertically, or should they lay the piece on its side and paint it?
You know, the fact that you're not spraying it, that you're brushing it on, you could brush it on as a vertical as opposed to horizontal, especially if you're getting into a really large piece of furniture. It may not be practical to turn it and lay it on its side, but brushing it, you should be able to brush it while it's on a vertical surface. Keep in mind too, as you take these drawers out, on the back side of the drawer, since this is wet, I won't take it all the way out, but on the back outside, number those drawers. That way the drawer that you took it, or the opening you took it from, will go in the same place, because a lot of times, especially these older pieces, because they weren't done by fine computerized machinery, but instead done by hand, they were made to fit in that particular opening, so it may be difficult for it to fit into another opening. So number those drawers or doors so that you'll put them back in the same place.
All right, so what we're gonna do later on today, you'll notice this is gonna need to dry down. We're gonna go in and put 2 coats on it. But before we wax it, we are gonna use some embellishing. I'm gonna show you this really quickly. This is a sister company of ours. It's called a Maker Studio. And we have these ink transfers that I am going to embellish on part of the drawers on this piece before I come back and actually wax it. The other thing I want to be able to remind you, if you haven't heard already, the first week of November, we're going to be introducing 100 colors of our one-step paint. And we will have our own paint deck with an additional 983 colors. We'll have almost 1,100 colors of one-step paint that you're going to be able to choose from starting November 11th. So we are real excited about that. We have added some essential oils to our paint to enhance your experience. We've increased the flow out to what you're going to love it. It's just going to be incredible. But we want to be able to take you through this process of seeing just how easy it is to finish this sweet little piece of furniture that Rachel got at a garage sale. But we wanted to make sure we don't go in and wax it. We're going to talk you through that. We'll do another Facebook Live a little bit later on today when we get it to that point. Are there any questions?
Someone wanted to know if that was Lux Gray on the top.
Gene, look at those colors.
Looks gray on the drawer, and it was Selznick gray on the top.
And what brush were you using?
We were using a synthetic called the wedge brush, and I believe those are on the side. Are they
Yes,
not?
they're on our website. They're so easy to work with. Yes.
Was the coverage estimate for 1 coat?
For 2 coats. As far as when you're doing this, the top, you would only need a sample pot to do the top. And 1 quart, you probably won't use more than a half a quart to paint 2 coats.
Well,
on the body.
Going back to the quart's 100 to 120 square feet, 1 coat.
Right.
The pots are approximately 25 to 30 square feet, 1 coat. And if you want to measure, you measure width and depth, and that tells you this looks to be about 4 feet by 2 feet, so this would be 8 square feet for that top. You would need 2 coats, so that'd be 16 square feet. So that gives you an idea of mathematics.
Will that be available only at Ace Hardware?
No, actually, just be checking our website on the 1st of November. We are going into other retail outlets. So they'll be listed on our website. It's kind of exciting. So we'll have it online as well.
E-commerce.
Amy Howard Home, you can buy. Remember, we can ship to you if it's $49 or more. Your shipping is free. We also have boutique retailers that teach workshops and teach you how to use the paints that you can look at on our website as well.
Where can we get a color chart?
We are going to have color charts available for you in about 14 days, 10 to 14 days. So they'll be available for purchase, as will they'll be going out in our orders that you'll be, when you're placing orders, we'll be putting one in there as a gift to you. There's a lot of exciting things coming your way.
Can you use this on metal?
Yes, remember with the one-step paint, you can use it on metal, resins, plastic. This is great to be able to use even on your kitchen cabinets that if they're melamine. Even Formica, there's a lot of Formica furniture from the 70s and 80s. It will bond to it. Allow this to dry at least 72 hours. You can go in and wax it if you want to, but some people will put it on the night before and then they'll go back the next morning and they can scratch some with a tool. The longer it's on, the more it cures, the more it bonds, and you're going to be able to enjoy this, and it's going to wear for many years to come. So check back later on. We'll be continuing to answer questions all during the day, so you can answer those. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Finish Friday. Continue to watch the transformation of this piece. I promise you're going to love it. Have a great weekend. We'll see you at the estate sales, guys. Bye.